Greetings, Warriors family. If you're as fired up as I am for the next chapter in our dynasty's journey, go ahead and hammer that like button and subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report right now. Let's keep this blue and gold energy soaring. There's a fresh gale blowing through the Bay Area, one that's stirring whispers of seismic front office shakeups and roster recalibrations that could redefine Golden State's next title push. It all began with a statement from a familiar voice, a former Warrior whose booming presence still echoes through the Oracle rafters. He didn't hold back when he suggested that a cherished young piece of our future might be on his way out. The door. Now, whether you call it a release, a parting of ways, or a trade request cloaked in frustration, the undercurrent is clear. Change is looming at Chase Center. Picture the scene. It's late spring, and the postseason flames have cooled. The core trio of Curry, Thompson, and Green have once again proven their mettle, but a crucial question lingers in every locker room conversation and fan forum thread. What happens next? Front office suits are already huddling over cap sheets, balancing the promise of long-term continuity against the temptation of immediate recalibration. Enter the spark that lit this powder keg, an outspoken critique from a former all-star big man blasting the way young talent has been handled, and igniting speculation that the Warriors brass might soon make a bold, even brutal, roster decision. You might be asking, who's at the center of this storm? Who is the 22-year-old swingman whose energy and athleticism once had us dreaming in fast-break dunks and endless highlight reels? For months, whispers of a fractured relationship circulated in hushed front office corridors and gym-side chatter. Some insiders claim that late-season rotation shifts and unexpected DNPs have left a young, hopeful feeling undervalued, its spark dimmed by a series of unexplained benchings. Could a superstar coaching staff's failure to nurture a budding phenom lead to his exit? The allegations point fingers at the man calling the X's and O's, the legendary head coach whose touch with veteran superstars is beyond reproach, yet whose track record with up-and-coming talent now faces intense scrutiny. Dig a bit deeper, and you'll find a tangled backstory of opportunity and turnover. This teenager-turned-pro was drafted with dreams of following in the footsteps of past Warriors legends, honing his craft under the bright lights and steep expectations of the Bay Area. Early flashes of brilliance, thunderous alley-oops, explosive. Drives, defensive rotations that reminded us of the face-masked heroes of old, had fans rallying behind his potential. We saw clips of his high-flying highlights and imagined a future where he'd anchor the second unit and eventually slot seamlessly alongside our Splash Brothers. Yet, as the regular season wore on, the once promising narrative encountered turbulence. Late-game benches ignited rumors of discord, and a pivotal playoff cameo, sparked by a hamstring injury to a veteran superstar, generated hope that the youngster would seize his moment. Instead, his minutes fluctuated. His role became murky, and the questions multiplied. Was it a strategic decision? Or had trust eroded between coach and player? Some believed that a failure to clearly define his shot opportunities and defensive assignments drove a wedge into what should have been a supportive mentorship. Then came the public outcry. A former champion, known for his candid assessments and deep ties to the franchise, pulled no punches on a nationally televised segment. His assessment was blunt. The organization mishandled a rare athlete, letting raw talent slip through its grasp. He invoked precedent, referencing a previous young star who, despite initial flashes of brilliance, ultimately sought greener pastures after feeling undervalued. The parallel was impossible to ignore, and suddenly social media feeds erupted in two camps, those defending the coach's disciplined approach and those decrying a lost opportunity to cultivate the next generational cornerstone. Could this be the tipping point that forces Golden State to weigh potential against philosophy? On one side, you have an established system, one that has delivered 4 championships in a decade, built on continuity, culture, and coalesced talent. On the other, you have a young athlete brimming with untapped upside, an energy infusion that could keep our run alive for years beyond the twilight of our current core. The calculus is complex. Do you pivot to preserve the proven foundation, or do you embrace the gamble of youthful resurgence? Consider the financial puzzle, too. Moving on from a restricted free agent, someone who can entertain offers elsewhere, but whose future remains negotiable, would require strategic maneuvering. A sign-and-trade might bring back assets, but it would also demand matching salaries and navigating cap holds. Alternatively, letting him walk could mean losing control. The league's free agency vultures circling for a bargain. The Warriors' front office must ask, is the cost of retaining this young talent worth the potential friction it introduces into a tight-knit locker room? Or is a clean break, persuading him to explore a sign-and-trade that nets role players and future draft capital, a wiser path to sustaining the dynasty's longevity? And what about the locker room vibe? Imagine the swells of loyalty when a veteran mentor steps up, vouching for the next generation, versus the murmurs that arise when trust fractures in the dark corners of a narrow bench. Chemistry is intangible, yet invaluable, a delicate equilibrium, forged through shared victories and collective sacrifices. How will Steph respond to news of a young teammate's departure? Will Clay cite a wake-up call for the organization, advocating for nurturing promise over preserving the status quo? Will Draymond's relentless drive for excellence spark any internal debate on where potential truly resides? The speculation doesn't stop there. Some insiders suggest that rival franchises, eyeing the Warriors' cap space and championship pedigree, are already circling. Could a hungry contender swoop in with a mid-level offer, tempting the young star with assurances of development and playing time? Would the front office of Golden State risk losing him for mere role-player compensation? Or would they prefer to package him in a sign-and-trade that shores up bench depth and future flexibility, even if it signals a departure from the emotionally charged "trust the process" creed that built this dynasty? Beyond the hardwood, fan sentiment is palpable. Social media debates rage. Is this the start of a new era or the end of an opportunity? Longtime season ticket holders reminisce about the days when youth flourished under Golden State's wing. Newer fans, drawn by the star power of Curry and company, question whether the franchise's identity should shift to accommodate youthful exuberance once more. It's a narrative ripe for headlines, podcast analysis, and late-night sports radio rants, the kind of storyline that keeps Warriors fans glued to their screens and hungry for every insider leak. But here's the heart of the matter. Whatever the decision, it will reverberate far beyond a single summer. It will shape our roster construction, influence free agent pitches, and set the tone for how this franchise balances legacy with evolution. Does Golden State elect to double down on the proven core and accept the loss of a promising rookie? Or do they roll the dice on a new blueprint, injecting fresh blood into a championship machine? The answer will define not only our next season, but potentially our competitive window for years to come. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report so you're always the first to get the latest breaking news on our beloved Golden State journey. As the dust settles on the speculation that Jonathan Kuminga might be shown the door, the real questions begin. What could Golden State realistically get in return? And how might this shake up the bench, the locker room, and the entire Western Conference pecking order? Let's dive straight into the scenarios that front office insiders are already whispering about, then explore the ripple effects on our roster, coaching staff, and fan base before wrapping up with what this all means for Warriors Nation. First, imagine the mechanics of a sign-and-trade centered around a restricted free agent whose raw athleticism and upside once had the Bay dreaming of highlight reel dunks and takeover performances. One plausible deal under discussion would send Kuminga to a team like the Orlando Magic or the Washington Wizards in exchange for 2 solid rotation players and a couple of protected second-round picks. For instance, envision acquiring a stretch 4 veteran, someone capable of hitting corner threes and spacing the floor, paired with a reliable backup point guard to stabilize the second unit. Add in a pair of pick swaps in 2027 and 2029, and Golden State would come away with tangible assets that bolster depth without mortgaging the future. These additional role players could seamlessly step into the 12th and 13th man slots, ensuring that when injuries inevitably strike, Steve Kerr has experienced bodies ready to log quality minutes. Moving beyond simple player exchanges, we must consider the salary cap gymnastics required to facilitate such a trade. Warriors executives may deploy the sign and trade exception, allowing them to match Kuminga's proposed contract while simultaneously absorbing the incoming salaries. To clear the necessary space, they might execute buyouts on expiring veteran contracts, players who have served the franchise well but whose minutes have dwindled over the past season. Veterans like Nemanja Bjelica or Otto Porter Jr. could agree to mutual terminations, thereby freeing up cap holds and smoothing out the primary exchange. Meanwhile, the stretch provision could be applied to a final year of a veteran's deal, pushing a chunk of cap hit into the future and leaving room for the new additions to step onto the floor without immediate luxury tax penalties overwhelming the payroll. Beyond the technicalities, the human element looms large. How will the young minds of the locker room react when they hear the news? Draymond Green, whose fierce competitiveness and locker room leadership define our culture, will undoubtedly have strong opinions. Will he champion the idea of trusting the process and let go of a promising teammate to protect the championship window? Or will he rally behind Kuminga, pushing for the organization to double down on youth development and give him one more season to flourish under his mentorship? Steph Curry, ever the diplomat, may balance his insatiable desire to win with empathy for a young player's journey, potentially using his voice to advocate for a fair resolution, whether that means retention with a bigger role or a sign and trade. That nets the team assets. On the hardwood, the ripple effects are equally profound. Losing Kuminga would strip away a handful of explosive minutes, those rare bursts when he'd turn defense into offense in a blink. But gaining a reliable floor spacer and a stabilizing guard could shore up the second unit's cohesion, perhaps reducing the reliance on small ball lineups that occasionally struggle against bigger, more physical teams. Coach Kerr's challenge will be to recalibrate rotations, ensuring that the fluid ball movement and defensive communication that define Golden State's DNA remain intact. Integration of new role players demands practice reps, chemistry building, sessions, and trust, elements that can take weeks to fully blossom. Yet, Kerr's track record suggests that if any coach can weave fresh pieces into a championship tapestry midstream, it's him. Now cast your gaze across the Western Conference map. If the Warriors successfully execute a sign and trade for Kuminga, rival GMs will take heed. Teams like the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers, both rumored to have had interest in Kuminga if he hit unrestricted free agency, will see Golden State's front office prowess on full display. These contenders may redouble efforts to shore up their benches, perhaps turning to buyout markets or chasing bargain-free agents denied by the Warriors' swift move. And what of the upstart Minnesota Timberwolves, whose young core impressed last spring? They might view Golden State's decision as a window of opportunity to pounce on any perceived imbalance in experience versus athleticism. Let's not forget the narrative impact. National media outlets will dissect every aspect. Was this a coup, orchestrated by Warriors brass to maximize assets? Or did a failure to invest in Kuminga's development force the organization's hand? Pundits will debate whether the Warriors are signaling a win-now mentality at the expense of their stated commitment to youth. Meanwhile, podcasts and highlight shows will replay Kuminga's electrifying alley-oops and question if those flashes of brilliance could have evolved into consistent stardom. Fans will scour advanced metrics, tracking his per-minute impact, defensive rating, and shot chart evolution, to argue for or against his retention. The storylines will flood social media, driving up engagement and keeping the Warriors at the center of league-wide conversations. From a historical lens, Dynasty Golden State has never shied away from bold roster moves. Remember when they traded Monta Ellis to usher in the era of Draymond and Clay? or when they cleared cap space to land Kevin Durant. Each time, the gamble paid off with championships. This potential sign and trade for Kuminga's contract could follow that same blueprint, sacrificing potential for proven contributors to sustain a title run. Yet, there's an important caveat. By moving a young restricted free agent, they give up the chance to match any offer sheet, effectively relinquishing their most cost-controlled asset at a time when luxury tax burdens loom larger than ever. And what about the fanbase reaction? Warriors faithful will be split. Season ticket holders who've watched Kuminga's growth from rookie highlight reels to mid-season flashes will feel a pang of nostalgia and loss. "He's our future," they'll lament online. On the other side, blue-chip fans fixated on immediate contention will celebrate the front office's decisiveness. "Depth wins championships," they'll chant, pointing to the necessity of reliable floor spacing and veteran savvy in late-game situations. You'll see heated debates in the stands at Chase Center when the next home game rolls around. Tray tables laden with beer and nachos, fans shouting over the action. Would you rather have Kuminga or Jock Landale? Or is Kevon Looney enough of a glue guy to replace his energy? As the sun sets on this turning point, one thing is crystal clear. Golden State's blueprint for championship sustainability will be tested yet again. Whether the sign and trade materializes, and whether the incoming assets seamlessly integrate, will define the narrative of the coming season. Will this move cement the Warriors' legacy as the best-managed dynasty in modern NBA history? Or will it serve as a cautionary tale about the perils of undervaluing youth amid the pursuit of immediate glory? But what do you think about all of this? Personally, I'm torn. Part of me aches at the thought of seeing Kuminga's potential bloom elsewhere, while another part thrills at the prospect of added depth propelling us to another finals run. The beauty of being part of Warriors Nation is that we can debate, disagree, and still unite under the banner of blue and gold. I can't wait to read your takes in the comments below. Do you support the front office pulling the trigger on this swap, or should they roll the dice on Kuminga's untapped upside? If this breakdown fired you up, hit that like button, subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report, and ring that bell so you never miss a beat of our championship chase. Until next time, stay golden.